Gracias. Sí.
So good morning to everyone. My name is Gonzalo. I'm the R&D director of the Canary Islands Institute of Technology. So a warm welcome to all of you, particularly uh, to the colleagues from the Ears for Water project and Marisol, the coordinator, the Corporación Tecnológica de Andalucía. So it's a great pleasure to have you here. Just a few words apart from this welcome and from the thanks. We are very happy to have been involved in this very nice project. And as you know, in the Canary Islands, there is an obsession of the energy efficiency of the water cycle, in particular regarding the desalination. The water cycle totally consumes approximately 15% of our energy demand, of our final energy demand. So this is why there is an obsession. And here at ITC, at the Canary Islands Institute of Technology, we are particularly obsessed. So we have been working on this area for more than 20 years. So thanks also to Baltasar and his department for providing very good results and all this R&D work carried out during this period. And particularly, the project has helped us to advance a lot in three main aspects. First of all, we have developed a new prototype, a new system. It's the Desol 2.0. It's a device that is capable to desalinate small scale, 24/7 desalination plant capable to operate with entirely with renewable energy. So it has been developed within this project. So we hope that we will be success also in transferring this technology. Second, we have been also successful in getting financing of the next generation program REACT. And we have a very ambitious goal in a project called Desal RO. Is with an own design, together with a company here, we want to break the record in energy consumption of desalination of a desalination system. So we are building and hope to have ready by next year, this time, 2,500 cubic meters per day desalination plant with the lowest energy consumption, hopefully. And finally, a very very challenging thing is this energy labeling of the water cycle. So we have been trying to convince our politicians here for a long time, and now with the Earth for Water project, we think we are ready, and hopefully we will begin to implement, if we succeed, this energy labeling here in the Canary Islands by next year, hopefully. So this was just for the introduction. Thanks again, and I wish you a very nice, successful workshop. Thanks, Marisol.
Thank you so much, Gonzalo. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final event of First for Water project for all of you who are here attendees and also online. I'm Marisol Castro. I'm a communication officer at CTA and also the communication manager of Terres for Water project. First of all, I would like to thank you, the Instituto Tecnológico de Canarias, the ITC, that is Earth for Water partner, for allowing us to organize this final event here, and also for all the support and work within the project. So thank you so much. And secondly, I would like to thank all the speakers for today's event. We have 15 speakers. Most of them are partnered in Earth for Water project. And they are experts in renewable energies and energy efficiency. And they are going to share with us policy recommendations, tools, and technologies that we have worked all during this project to promote the resource efficiency in the energy water nexus. So I hope you find all the project outcomes interesting. So this project is funded by the European Union through the Interreg Atlantic Area Program, and CTA is the coordinator of this activity. And in CTA, we are also participating a lot in the energy and environment sector. It's one of our main priorities, and we have financed a lot of projects in this sector. It's one of the main main sector, also together with the ICT sector. So in addition, we are participating in several European projects on international level. We have more than 30 projects, and some of them are related to the renewable energy deployment, also energy efficiency and the energy transition. So before we start, I would like to let you know that this event is being organized in the framework of the Energy Sustainable Week. That is a major event organized by the European Commission and is taking place this week all around Europe, and we are so glad to be part of it. So that's all from my side, and we are going to start with the agenda. And first of all, I would like to call my colleague, Jose Maria, who is an innovation consultant at CTA, and he's going to present the project. So, Jose Maria, please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Jose Maria Gonzalez from CTA, Consultant Innovation, colleague also from Marisol, and we belong to CTA, the coordinator of this amazing project. I will present the project Earth for Water impact overview, so how the project is contributing to the energy water nexus development and also European policies. So I will go for a briefly summary about this. Firstly, I will start with the 11 project partners that has been involved in this project from 5 different Atlantic countries, being Spain, Portugal, France, United Kingdom, and Ireland. So as you can see, here are the logos from all the partners, which are including universities, but also private companies. And also we count with the help of 7 associated partners, which are been in a second level, but they are being involved also during these 3 years and a half of project. So just some numbers about the Earth for Water project. The program priority and also the specific objectives were the fostering resource efficiency, water energy efficiency, also fostering the renewable energies and energy efficiency. And regarding the budget, there was over 3 million euros, which 75% were funded by the European Union, and the other 25% was in-kind budget. The duration of the project was 42 months, because at the beginning it was 36, but due to the COVID situation, we enlarged 6 months our project. Then a brief summary about the Earth for Water project, which enhances the 3 aspects, like institutional, technical, and social framework to promote the renewable energy sources and energy efficiency in water cycle by influencing the related policies and introducing new techniques and new processes to this sector. So the improvement expect to bring the Atlantic area to the forefront, as my colleague Marisol and Gonzalo has explained, and policies and utilization of the REDs, energy efficiency, as well as sustainability. So where the goal of this project and the challenge was to address the energy water nexus and its go further to a holistic approach where deep knowledge of the nexus and the development of local policies, strategies, and also tools are developed to reduce energy needs and promote the REST nexus. So we try to focus in these three areas, trying to cover the institutional level, also the social level, and the technical level that will be further explained for all my colleagues here presenting. So were some specific objectives addressed by the project were the providing policy recommendations, as Marisol has introduced before, also developing innovative technologies solutions by several partners involved in the project, the developing of supporting tools, establishment of cooperation agreements between the academia and private sector, as we already see in the partners involved in the project, and then the providing information or awareness about resource and efficiency. So what's new in this project? We will address 3 different sectors or branches, as we already said before. So the institutional level, the social level, and also the technical one. So in terms of institutional level, we afford quantitative storytelling based on policy making, where the 5 regions, the one we already mentioned before, were reported and were paper preparation were done. Then the ICT tool already mentioned, decision making in an industrial level as well. The labeling process that already has been introduced before, and then I guess it will be further explained. And a service system, it's called SU, Transnational Service on Innovative Energy and Water Technologies. Then in the social level, my colleague Marta will explain it after me, but the open innovation strategy followed in this project aim to join the academia and private sector, to join the research and development cooperation agreements. Then also in the social level, this service already mentioned before were carried out with Abengoa Agua, Track Global Solution, and they have received these services from ITC and University of Seville, 2 of the partners of the project. And has been developed a map for more than 80 projects related with the energy water nexus, which we contact with them, and we included in a related project map in our website, with filters you can go have further information about them, and now which is the nexus with our project, and to found synergies with us. Most of them are already open, are still open, sorry. Then also new, at technical level, we have developed several pilots and already developed plans. So some of them are the low-cost wave driving desalination, the low-cost reflector design for CPC type, solar collectors, on-grid pumping station using and recovery energy, the novel storage technologies with photovoltaic generation, efficient wastewater facilities operation based on the modeling water quality processes in the marine environment, the cost and resource efficient reverse osmosis water treatment and desalination, the retrofitting guidelines for desalination plants and pump uses as turbine was some of the technical aspects covered during this project. So just for finish, some pictures are shown here. Even further presentation will go in detail in some of these technical plans, but we can see here the on-grid pumping station using rest and recovery energy from the ITC facilities where we are, and also the low-cost reflector design for CPC type solar collectors from the University of Évora facilities. And also the refoulement forward and reverse osmosis testbed carried out by CEMAT facilities, in CEMAT facilities, and the pilot plant for pump used as turbine, developed by our French partner, JIP. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much. I guess you enjoy this event.
Thank you so much, Jose. So we are going to continue with the agenda. So my colleague Marta is going to join now. We are going to start the first session. So some speakers are going to join us online. This is the case of Barbara, that is senior consultant. Also, Jesus Montes from the University of Seville, that is also a partner of Earth for Water project, and my colleague Marta Macias, also from CTA. They are going to address how can the role of Water Energy Nexus be boosted to shape a sustainable green transition for Europe. So they are going to talk about several activities that we have developed within the project. For example, open innovation in the Energy Water Nexus, and also the presentation of the Transnational Service of Innovative Energy and Water Technologies. This has been developed within the project, and also it will continue after the project, so I think some attendees could be interested. So that's all. I don't know if Barbara can now be with us. Hello, Barbara. Can you hear us? We can see you.
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, very good. So go ahead, please.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen in the first place. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. So yeah, good morning, everyone. I will be presenting one of the activities that was part of the Earth for Water, which deal with mapping a little bit the governance landscape, the urban water cycle, to understand what are the main challenges to secure the provision of services sustainably, and that also affects, of course, the relationships with the energy sector. This work has been coordinated by ITC, but of course supported by a large number of colleagues. Probably many of you are there sitting. Just want to acknowledge and thanks everyone for their contribution. So maybe the very first question, why did we decide to go and explore this water energy nexus governance? Well, first of all, I think it is quite clear and it's becoming quite obvious that interdependencies between resources are there, and this is becoming obvious to everyone, policymakers and society, but this is the first step in order to actually address those nexus. The reality is that the development of this continues to be in silos, and the cooperation, vertical or horizontal, is weak and or doesn't even exist in some cases. No, there is also an urgency to move from theoretical concepts of what is the nexus and why it matters to actually implement that in practice. No. And that requires making ourselves the questions, going beyond, prescribing normative recommendations about, what should be done, to rather understand what is the complex landscape of those that are involved in the management of the urban water cycle, what are their priorities, their understanding, and their perceptions about solutions that are socially and socially acceptable. No. So when we look at the water energy nexus, I think
Connection problems. Barbara, can you hear us?
and basically we wanted to create the energy dependent. Sorry, can you hear me?
Hello, Barbara. We are having some problems. I think it's maybe your connection. It's not very good. Maybe you can switch off your camera.
Okay. Let me. Okay. Can you hear me better?
We can hear you.
Okay. Sorry for that. So As I said, we are focusing on this and what are the energy dependencies of the urban water cycle and what solutions can be provided. So the research question was motivated by the fact that service providers across Europe and particularly across the Atlantic region, they need to be compliant with many EU legislations and requirements, and this they need to be further aligned with other cross-sectoral policies such as the EU Green Deal. And the reality is that maybe many service providers and water utilities are having many challenges at the time of meeting their requirements, and this has also lots of energy implications. So what we wanted to understand is what are these challenges perceived by the different stakeholders, and whether there is a number of, so to say, general challenges and policy recommendations coming from the different regions that could be scaled up to the European level in order to provide specific policy recommendations. So we did work and we did the comparative analysis by looking into 4 different regions. These regions displayed in the map go from the Canary Islands to Brittany in France. And they have, and this is the very interesting part, they have very, very different physical, geographical, cultural, socioeconomic, and institutional setups. So this was also important at the time of doing this analysis, because it will mean differences in the source of water that are being used. It will mean different while water is being demanded by the different users, and it will mean different solutions provided to address the challenges that they are facing. So the proposed methodology used is the so to say, the science-based approach, but the most
Barbara,
important aspects of this methodology is that it is aiming to, yes?
can you hear us? Yes. We are seeing the same slide.
Okay. I'm sorry for this.
Don't worry.
Okay, let me. Can you see now the
Yes, now we are seeing the
GOST symbol?
methodology.
Okay,
Yes,
I'm
great.
sorry for
Thank you.
this. Okay, sorry. Okay, so as I was saying, we are applying this methodology and the key stakeholders, different regions, and then it's also supported by quantitative information that the project team was able to collect from evidence base and other official statistics. No. So I put this slide because this is a bit the kind of institutional mapping that we did at the time of identifying who is this landscape of actors that are involved. And I don't want to go into the details, but just by displaying this slide, it is clear that there is a very complex landscape of different actors, water administrations from different levels, and even combinations of private and public administrations. There is some differences across regions, and that all means, as I was saying earlier, different challenges and different ways of approaching the management of the different services. So this is a very simple schematic representation of the urban water cycle, and I will be some of the challenges and policy recommendations that have been found across the different parts of the urban water cycle, along the pumping and production, distribution to end users, and also distribution, collection for sanitation, and not least the wastewater treatment and reuse. So 2 common features with different intensities in the 4 regions that they are investigated is that, of course, demands are increasing all over, not just urban demands. Demands are increasing for many other uses as well. So this poses a challenge in the terms of securing water quantity. And different regions are placing different solutions, either by adopting desalination technologies or bringing water from long distance, or even groundwater mining. But there is also a growing problem of the water quality deterioration caused by point source and diffuse pollution, and this is also increasing the cost of potability. Obviously, the pressures and the risks that are emerging from these challenges is obviously a deterioration of water bodies with the risk of non-compliance of EU directives. But of course, one can easily imagine that this is also increasing the energy footprint of water provision overall. When it comes to distribution, the two most recurrent issues that we encounter, one is the infrastructure aging. And this was, if I remember well, a common feature across all the regions. The lifespan of pipes is simply prolonged well beyond their planned capacity, and this is somehow related also to poor asset management. And then another issue which was recurrent in some regions, not necessarily everywhere, is also limited capacities for controlling illegal water abstractions. No? So this, of course, translates into a number of challenges, which is, on the one hand, the high level of non-revenue waters, understood as the difference between the water that is abstracted from the source and finally delivered to households. It can be up to 50%, in some cases even higher, although there is huge differences. And as you can imagine, this generates lots of inefficiencies, not just because a lot of water is being lost, it's also water that it's not billed. And last but not least, very importantly as well, energy efficiencies. It comes to water treatment, and some of the most prominent challenges is that first, the difficulties in the requirements and the targets of the Urban Wastewater Directive. That means insufficient level of treatment in many of these areas, and also of the volume that is actually treated. And then also importantly, the limited development so far from the reclaimed waters, due to different topics. This, of course, again translates in risk of non-compliance of EU directive, but it also has many socioeconomic implications for the tourism sector due to the deterioration of the water quality, and even also for drinking water downstream. And importantly as well is that there is a gap here in terms of energy demands that will have to be met. So that means overall that energy demands are also expected to grow on this front. So we did a very much deeper analysis of what I'm trying to present here today, but I want to highlight a number of the most outstanding policy recommendations that were provided. It is interesting when we were doing this that there were many technical recommendations, and I think this project has a strong focus in there, so I won't go into the details of that. But what was most interesting when we were trying to speak with the stakeholders is a lot of the recommendations are actually at the level of the regulatory framework and institutional cooperation. Fundamental aspects also related to awareness raising. It seems that it's still not clearly understood, and more efforts need to be allocated to actually raise awareness among citizens about the value of water, and the growing risk of mismanagement and climate change on top of that. Also making more explicit the linkages between water and energy. When one person opens the tap, is not necessarily aware of the amount of energy resources that are going behind. There is some technical recommendations, but I think that these are mostly on the line of what the project has been focusing on developing our economy projects, energy efficiency and digitalization. But I want to very briefly reflect on some of the proposals along the improvements on the regulatory framework. This was particularly the case and highly stressed in the regions pertaining to Spain, Andalusia and the Canary Islands. There is a very clear need for having standards, clear and transparent standards establishing water tariffs. And asset management to also strengthen the equity and the cost recovery of the service. Right now, there is legislations being developed by each of the service providers, and given that there is a high level of decentralization, basically that means that there are many regulations as water service providers. Also, they need to explicitly include energy efficient targets, because right now there is no incentive or even a conscience within the water sector at basic planning or water supply and sanitation about the need to improve the energy efficiency. And then a general reflection as well was the difficulties of implementing the EU policies at local context, because they need to be paired, with the local realities. The last sets of recommendations were along the institutional part. There is, and this is particularly the case in the public administrations, clear under resource, both in terms of human and technical capacities, which actually deals or connects to many of the challenges that we were identifying before. It was also proposed, or some recommendations, to improve the cooperation, especially horizontal across the different water utilities, is that better exchange of best practices could be promoted, because there is very good examples of utilities that have improve their cooperation and their practices, and vertical cooperation as well, in order to better align the sectoral development plans and save many of the administrative procedures which are right now extremely consuming, for instance at the time of promoting renewable energies linked to either desalination or wastewater treatment. And last but not least, it was also highlight the need to strengthen the collaboration with academia, because there is many knowledge gaps. We have not touched upon this here, but there is many knowledge gaps in terms of energy use and requirements across the different parts of the sector, because all the information is scattered, and also due to the limited capacities of the public administration, this could also help to optimize the technical capacities. And that's it in a nutshell. Sorry for if there were issues with the communication. Over to you, Marisol or Marta.
Thank you so much, Barbara. It was such a great presentation. So I think we can continue with the next speaker that is going to join online as well. He had some travel problems in the Canary Islands. So Jesus from the University of Seville is going to be the next speaker.
Yeah.
Can you hear us,
Hi.
Jesus?
Yeah.
Great, we can see you now. So please, you can share your presentation and go ahead. Thank you.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. Thanks for attending the final event of Heirs of Water. As some of my colleagues presented before, the Heirs for Water project was planned as a way to enhance the institutional, technical, and social framework to promote the direct use of renewable energy sources and the energy efficiency too in water cycle, and also to influence the related policies and introduction of new processes and technology. So the overall objective was to provide stakeholders from the Atlantic area with the tools and instruments needed to overcome the energy water nexus challenges and increase its utilization. So within this tool, the Heirs for Water Consortium has been working on both providing policies, recommendation, and legal framework, and the development of innovative technological solutions and supporting tools. And well, as my colleague Jose Maria explained before, the project consortium is composed of three different types of key stakeholders. On the one hand, we got the public bodies in charge of promoting the adequate political framework. On the other hand, we got the universities, research and development centers, and the small and medium-sized enterprise developing new and innovative technologies in this field. And lastly, the consortium also had private-public partnerships and business associations to build the links between the different stakeholders. So at the end, what we got here is a solid group of transsectorial and cross-regional experts to overcome some of the challenges that the energy water nexus presented. So in this context, the Transnational Service of Innovative Energy and Water Technologies, the SIU, was proposed as a long-term way for bringing together all the know-how generated in the project and even after the project finalization. So this way, we were ensuring that the project results, outputs, and benefits could be maintained, exploited, and maybe expanded in the long term, and not only during the project execution. So who will be taking advantage of the main project outputs? That would be the national, regional, and local public organizations. Also, the cross-border and transnational organizations, public and private enterprises, business networks and associations, universities and research or innovation centers, and also civil society associations. So in the coming days, once the project has come to an end, we are planning to launch this brochure where those interested in this portfolio of services, we will find the information and how they can contact to our team and make their queries. Moving on to the fields of action of these services. The services cover several fields of action. We can put them in several groups, of course, all somehow related to a specific application, technology, or recommendations within the energy water nexus. So you can find combination of renewable energies and water treatments, assessment on opportunities based on the innovations developed within the project scope, retrofitting alternatives, and supporting services involving legal or financial frameworks for current or future energy water nexus projects, startups. As a matter of fact, all the services aim at least to enhance the penetration of renewable energies to the water processes or to improve those existing processes, mainly in terms of energy efficiency, and either by the direct implementation of some of the outcomes or by giving support to the new initiatives. So there is the list of services offered by the Eres for Water team. Again, they will be available in the brochure. So let's have a quick look at them. We can see options of support for public water body tenders, energy efficiency studies on both wastewater and desalination processes, technical support for desalination pilot units, prototypes, or new devices development, also involving renewable energy application in the ITC facilities, technical support and consultancy for innovation in these fields too, assessment of water or wastewater quality and treatments according to the European directives, technical support on water and wastewater treatment, specifically in combination with solar energy, technical support for design and development of conventional and innovative photovoltaic system, also dedicated to pumping system. Likewise, the design of energy storage system for this water pumping system. Studies on contaminant transport and fading in hydro system based on the models that we developed within the projects. And to finish, some services concerning the impact assessment and optimization of current renewable energy system. Consultancy services for innovative, energy efficient, and sustainable desalination and wastewater treatment processes. And lastly, some services related to certification procedures and analysis of financing opportunities for the Energy Water Nexus project. So in summary, this is what the Transnational Service of Innovative Energy and Water Technologies by the Area for Water project can offer. So for those interested in any of the previous services, even if the scope of the challenge is not really clear, please feel free to contact our team via this email address that I'm sharing with you, ceu.rsforwater@gmail.com. And just to finish with my presentation, I wanted to share with you the three services delivered within the project, which address firstly the identification of innovative application of emerging desalination technologies with market opportunities in Atlantic region. And in the second place, the identification of innovative reverse osmosis configurations for application with market opportunities in the Atlantic region. And lastly, the development of innovative zero and minimum liquid discharge system driven by waste heat with market opportunities too. And hopefully in the future, we will be adding new services delivered of the application based on the Airs for Water project outcomes to this list. So that was all for my presentation. I hope you found it interesting, and thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you so much, Jesus, for being here with us online and for your presentation. For all of you who are interested in knowing more, this brochure would be published on the public website, in Earth for Water website, so I invite you to visit us there. So I would like to ask all the speakers, please try to be brief, because we are behind the schedule. So let's go to continue to finish the session 1 with my colleague Marta Macias. Please, go ahead.
Hello, everybody. I will introduce you the most relevant outcomes from the exercise that we have conducted in order to know what is happening regarding open innovation in the Atlantic area. So I don't know if you are familiar with the open innovation topic, otherwise no problem. I will give you some hints and a short introduction. I will also review or define somehow what are innovation ecosystems. Then I will share with you the main results for the open innovation ecosystem in the Atlantic area analysis that we have carried out. We will discuss on open innovation models in this area as well and finalize with some conclusions. So, open innovation. Let's start by how innovation has been established as something really necessary for organizations in order to go ahead, to progress. We can understand open innovation as the process of creating and improving new products, services, etc., by collaborating with others within your innovation ecosystem. So we could say that the open innovation model has been being used more and more as a response to the growing demand for solutions. We can also say that open innovation has been affected by COVID-19 crisis as everything. Especially considering the situation that we have right now, innovation is a great asset for corporations and society because of its ability to connect opportunities and to transcend broader realities. So regarding innovation ecosystem, we can understand this issue as a system of collaborations between different agents that work together in order to support different open innovation mechanisms. Here you can see the three main agents that have been considered in the study that I am going to present in a while. So we have considered corporate agents. These are the private companies that drive innovation initiatives. We have also innovation providers. These are usually, for example, consultancy companies that work in the science, technology, and innovation area. And we also have public agents. These are organizations that are usually financed by public entities, so we could identify them as the universities and also the research technology centers. So regarding the Atlantic area, we have explored this open innovation ecosystem specifically related to the energy-water nexus, which is actually the topic of Aires for Water, in the 5 main countries from the Atlantic area program. And we have identified which are the main actors, which innovation tools are usually used, which are the main technical fields that are considered in these initiatives, and also which could be like the good practices and the lessons learned that can be shared with others in order to improve and go ahead. So here you can see the main conclusions from this exercise that we have carried out. So we could say that France is the country with the most mature approach to open innovation. You know that across Europe and also across the world, the different countries are progressing at different paths regarding open innovation. So for example, the Spanish ecosystem is led by energy corporations, private companies. In the case of the English-speaking region, it's important to highlight the collaboration with public agents, academia, university, and research centers. And there is a strong presence of foreign players in Portugal. Regarding the open innovation models in the Atlantic area, we have divided the ecosystem agents in 3 categories, as I said before: corporate, innovation providers, and public entities. So the level and type of participation was analyzed, and we identified a total of 266 agents across these 3 types of ecosystem agents. So regarding the main conclusion is that corporations, universities, and technology centers have the greatest presence in the open innovation ecosystems in the Atlantic area. Going into details and, for example, focusing on corporations, we could say that there is a strong presence of companies in all the countries. This represents more or less actually 30% of the different actors involved in the regions studied, and they are mainly active in the energy sector, if we are considered the water energy nexus. Regarding the main open innovation tools that the corporations usually use, these are strategic partnerships, acceleration programs, corporate venture capital funds, and pilot programs. For pilot programs, we understand these open calls where they launch a challenge to the market and different organizations can answer this challenge. We have here a success story for a corporation. This is Engie. They focus mainly their initiatives for open innovation in green hydrogen, and these initiatives take place in France, Spain, and also in the UK. We have also another success story for corporations. This is ADP. From Portugal, and they have is behind 5 of the initiatives identified in Portugal, and it's the main company driving initiatives for open innovation in this country. Some examples are EDP Open Innovation, EDP Open Data, and EDP Ventures. So for universities, they are considered the main source of knowledge and intellectual property because they have a strong connection with the creation of startups and also spin-off. In the case of this study for the Atlantic area, we have identified 23 universities. And concerning the main open innovation tools that they use are strategic partnerships, university spin-off creation, and also incubation programs. As you can see, this is really related to the whole entrepreneurship ecosystem. So our success story for the case of open innovation models for universities is the University College of Dublin. They have an innovation center which is called Nova UCD. And this center has managed to support 7 startups from the energy water nexus. And they work in the energy related areas as well. The third open innovation model that we have identified in our study is the one linked to technology centers. So they are the third most relevant actor in the whole open innovation ecosystem that we have studied. So far, 10 technology centers have been identified in the countries linked to the water energy nexus. The main models for open innovation tools that technology centers use are, in the case of Spain, for example, strategic partnerships. When we say strategic partnerships, we are referring to the connection, for example, between a private company and a research center. The private company asks the research center to develop a study for them, design of a plant or something similar. In the case of UK and Ireland, they use mostly acceleration programs to support entrepreneurships in the region. In the case of France, they focus on incubation programs, very similar somehow to acceleration programs. And in the case of Portugal, they focus on collaborative research and development projects like, for example, H2020, which are the projects funded by the European Commission. So in this case, the success story is the Net Zero Technology Center from Aberdeen. The main focus for them is to achieve zero carbon emissions. And for example, they have an accelerator program, which is called TechX Clean Energy, and they work with different startups and young companies with the participation of BP Venture and Norwegian energy company Equinor Venture. So the conclusions from this study is that the consolidation of open innovation in the energy water nexus for the Atlantic area is a reality. In fact, Spain, France, and the United Kingdom have a strong network with a lot of interconnections, and this blends creativity, innovation, and new trends. and also creating, supporting, and consolidating collaborative spaces between the different ages is really, really relevant in order to tackle and address all the challenges that we are going to face in the upcoming future. So here I have inserted the link from the project website when you can have a look at the whole report if you are interested in knowing more about open innovation in the Atlantic area. And here is my email in case you are interested and want to know more about what we have done, or if you want to cooperate in the frame of open innovation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marta. So we have finished the first session of the event, and I would like to ask the speakers of the session 2 to please join us. In this second session, we are going to talk about the use of renewable energies in the water cycle. And here, I would like to invite Luis Fiallo and Maria Elena. Both of them are a professor at the University of Évora, and they are also partners in Earth for Water project. And also Juan Antonio de la Fuente from the Instituto Tecnológico de Canarias. He's going to participate as well, together with Eric Zilliot, that is a project manager of GIP, that is also the French partner of Earth for Water project. And he will be joining us online. So please, we can start with the presentation of Luis and Maria Elena. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Marisol. Thank you. I'm really happy to be here today and present our results on the use of solar energy in the water energy nexus, also together with my colleague Luis. I will address the use of solar energy for wastewater treatment with a special focus in pharmaceutical compounds. Why? Because there has been a growing concern with this type of emerging contaminants due to their ubiquitous presence in the aquatic resources, also because they are synthesized to act at low concentrations and to last long enough to have the desired effect. And furthermore, they are not removed by current treatments in the wastewater treatment plants. And these are the main entry points for these contaminants to the water resources, posing a high risk to the environment and even to human health. So in the literature review in the area of the project, a total of 115 pharmaceutical compounds have been identified, some of them with high concentrations and high frequency of detection. Therefore, this was the focus of our project, was to develop, to design and construct a prototype of a solar reactor that is able to tackle and remove these contaminants. So this reactor has a compound parabolic collector type that is able to use both direct and diffuse radiation in these photodegradation processes. But this design of this collector has been simplified to decrease the production cost, and this is one of the main innovations of this reactor. And also the tubular receivers where the fluid circulates have a higher diameter, so therefore we have a higher path length, allowing also the treatment of batches with higher volumes. So this reactor is installed at University of Évora facilities and is able to treat 135 liters each time of effluent, and has a total volume of 135 liters, from which 63 are illuminated. So here are some images of the reactor under operation. Furthermore, this system will have a photovoltaic system to provide energy for the auxiliary systems, making it 100% renewable. And also our first experimental tests that were carried out with 4 pharmaceutical compounds that have been detected in surface waters in the Alentejo region has proved that it is capable to remove up to 79% of naproxen and also 88% of diclofenac without the use of any catalysts. For other more recalcitrant compounds as carbamazepine and ibuprofen that are not able to be degraded only with the direct use of the radiation, Further, heterogeneous photocatalysis tests were carried out using titanium dioxide as a catalyst. And in this case, carbamazepine was reduced up to 42% and ibuprofen to 86%. So this can be really a new technology that can be coupled to the conventional wastewater treatment processes.
So, hi, good morning. Thank you all for coming. I'm going to present you another type of solar energy application to the water energy nexus. In this case, photovoltaic pumping or irrigation. So, what are the main issues that we should tackle regarding this technology? So, three main topics that we should tackle. So, how to properly design a system like this for high power pumping or high power irrigation. So, after designing it, how to financing it, how to pay it, so how should we pay these systems, and third, how should we operate, control, and properly maintain these systems to match the performance indicators for these kind of business models. So these were the three main issues that we tackled here. Today I bring you two slides with two real case examples of case studies that we have approached and developed. With real data, so what you are seeing here is real data of these systems. They are still operating and they are within partners of our unit. So for instance, this is an hybrid photovoltaic and public grid setup, so an hybridization of that is possible. So different configurations of power sources can be made. This is a huge pumping station with almost 3 megawatts of pumping power. So it's providing water, pressurized water to farmers of 3,700 hectares of irrigated area. The capex of this installation was more or less around 300,000 euros, and the payback was at the first time was defined for 5 years, so a very fast payback for these kind of solutions. With real data, up to May this year, we have defined and we have calculated almost 800 tons of CO2 emissions avoided, so real important figures right here. In savings, you can see that we already surpassed more than half of the capex investments. So even here, as you can see, the energy costs for pumping of this pumping station has become lower, almost 30% with this kind of installation. So the owners and the end users can be really happy with this, and probably they will expand this solution in near future. So how should we design it? We have tackled the different issues here. We really are advising users, and we have provided good practices to design. So they should be using one-axis trackers, sun trackers like this one that you can see here, that track the sun on an horizontal axis from east to west. So they will provide a flat power generation profile along the day. So they will provide you sooner in the morning, very high power available for pumping until very late in the day. So these are the configurations that should be used in this kind of pumping solutions. And this system design really matches the irrigation needs, the seasonality of this. So when you have the higher irrigation needs, you also have the higher solar resource availability. So this is a different configuration. This is an hybrid photovoltaic diesel generator setup. So this is an off-grid application. This is a farm, an olive orchard farm. So we are irrigating almost 200 hectares of land here. And this pumping station is very far from the electric main power lines. So it's not feasible to do a grid connection here. So the previous energy source was a diesel generator. As you imagine, it's quite expensive right now to do irrigation with diesel generators. So and the irrigation sectors were already designed, so they have to irrigate during the night due to that design of the hydraulic sectors. So we are really having the best of a hybrid photovoltaic diesel genset system. The payback time with the capex from 2015 is more or less 7 years, probably much lower now with the current downward trend of the PV prices. And just to destroy here the myth that we occupied valuable land. So you can see we occupied 3,000 square meters. So it's much less than 1% of the land of these holy orchards. So this is really a myth. We can irrigate a huge land with occupying very small area. So some figures, but these systems are really operating, and feel free to contact me if you need to add additional questions. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Luis. So now I think we are going to connect with Eric, that is the net
I will
speakers.
begin the first part of the presentation.
Okay,
I
okay,
give the
great.
floor to him.
So great, go ahead,
Okay.
Tony.
So I will give a brief presentation of our pilot system installed here and tested in Pozo Izquierdo. Here we can see some pictures just to highlight that the people that have come here today will have the possibility to visit this system after lunch. Well, a pilot system based on our Sol patent has been designed, installed, commissioned, and tested here in Pozo Izquierdo. The name is the Sol 2.0 because it's an upgraded version of our existing patent. Here you can see some pictures of the system and some technical specifications. It's a reverse osmosis plant with a production capacity of 11 cubic meters per day, with a high pressure pump with 2 kilowatt, working with an energy cover device that has achieved a specific energy consumption of 2.1, 2.2 kilowatt hour per cubic meter, and it's driven by a PV field of 3.74 megawatt peak. You can see in the right hand the general scheme of the Sol 2.0. Well, the tasks that had been carried out for the implementation of this system, first we made a technical specification document in order to outsource the equipment supply service to local engineering. Then the PV panel structure, you can see in the image, foldable and portable. The inverters and the reverse osmosis destination plant were acquired. The local engineering outsource assembled all the equipment in the workshop for a later transfer here to Pozo Izquierdo. And once we have the pilot here in our testing facilities, we started carrying out several actions. The first one was in the water line connection, the electrical network, and the control and data acquisition system programming. The low voltage panel of the plant was also installed with electrical protections, PLC, BFDs, inverter, and so on. And an important thing that I will like to highlight is the sensors. We have totally sensorized the destination plant. Well, some scheduled tests were carried out, mainly focused in three ways of driving the plant. The first one was solar PV plus electrical grid. The second group of tests carried out were solar PV plus batteries. And the third one was solar PV plus batteries plus grid. During the first test, several minor errors were detected, and we decided to carry out some improvements in the pilot plant, both at that operational and a functional level. These improvements allowed us a better operability of the system, minimizing its failures, and increased reliability and centralization of the data collection, the possibility of working the system 100% off-grid mode, and improvement in protection, maintenance, as a whole. Sorry, here in the table you can see a summary of the destination plant operating ranges. Well, among other improvements, the inverter charger was replaced by a Victron pack system that allowed us a better control on the operation of the reverse osmosis plant, and the centralization of the data records from both the PV system and the destination plant. This is an important thing because this improvement wasn't initially contemplated in the project, and now my colleague Carmelo, that has worked very hard in this system, will show you a few presentation of Grafana system.
Good morning, everyone. So here you can see the platform where we implemented the visualization of the plant's parameter. And here we have an example with the combination of the solar field, photovoltaic energy production, and and the plant operation. In the top right corner, we can change the period. We can see more a wider range, and it will change in every single panel in the dashboard. We can check how was the water production or the solar energy production, and where it was destined to the battery from an external source or directly to the plant. So here we can see also the plant in life, its current status, but now unfortunately it's not working, so we can't show you. So that's all from the platform. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carmelo. So now for the second part of the presentation, I will give the floor to my colleague Eric from GIP. You're on mute, Eric.
Okay. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I've got some echo. It's okay. Can you please show me the PPT? Thanks. So the screen is a bit fuzzy. Maybe I'd better read my own screen, but you can stay on your on the PPT. JIP worked on the turbining water networks in Brittany. As you can see, we get some one feasibility study about turbining drinking water. We get some water coming from the pipe into a reservoir. There is too much pressure, so a pressure reducing valve is breaking this pressure, 3 bars at a flow rate of 130 cubic meter per hour. So just energy is dissipated into noise and heat. The aim is to install a bypass with a micro turbine. In fact, it's not a real micro turbine, it's a pump just used as a turbine in reverse mode. And with this kind of installation, here we can recover around 50,000 kilowatt hour a year. The good thing with this pump is that when you install something an equipment into contact with drinking water, you always need the health compliance certificate, and the pump already gets it instead of the turbine. The second case study is turbining a waterfall of wastewater treatment. The project deals with a head of less than 3 meters, and the flow rate is a little bit less than 1,000 cubic meter per hour. So turbining this fall, we have a necessity to avoid the stop of the wastewater treatment plant more than many hours. So the challenge was to create a water chamber, with the turbine already implemented, and then install all these items in the fall of the wastewater treatment plant, and that's quite possible. And for those both studies, we get a good return on investment. But actually, the key indicator look at is the less cost of energy, LCOE. It's the cost with maintenance of the kilowatt hour produced during the lifespan of the project. Next slide, please. Thanks. So we almost finished the pilot plant. You can see we get some, a pump is pumping water from a river to a high reservoir. Then the water is going to a low reservoir, and there is a pressure reducing valve breaking 7 bars at 300 cubic meter per hour. So we can recover energy. We install a bypass with a pump still used as a turbine, and produce 100,000 kilowatt hour a year. It's almost 20% of the electricity consumption of the water plant. And on the right side, you can see the demonstrator. It aims to show how pump used as turbine can work. We improved the correlation of pump performance prediction in turbine mode, and we worked on the increase of the producible thanks to the use of inverter. So maybe you can just let's show the video, Tony. Maël, the doctoral working on the project as well. Thanks. Next slide, please. Okay, let's look at some opportunities for microturbining, drinking or water. Actually, there is some energy available, but it's unexploited yet. Pumps as turbine are between 2 to 5 times cheaper than a turbine. We already get the ACS, the attestation of sanitary conformity, which is required when you're in urban water. It's easy maintenance. It's a pump turbine. It's like a pump. It's the same maintenance. Most of the time, no civil engineering is required, just a bypass with a pump. The whole system remains in place and still works. The priority is always the water service. All those results will be in the document that we are making with ITC in order to show you all our work. And we aim to disseminate all those technology, and we hope that each stakeholder or water company can implement this kind of system as well. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Eric. And thanks to all the speakers of this second session. And now we are going to start with the third session. I would like to call the speakers of this session to join us. And in this third session and final session, yes, please. We will address how to enhance the energy efficiency in the water energy nexus. Lourdes Garcia from the University of Seville, she will be joining us online. And also my colleagues Reza Madian and Arthur Mann from Cardiff University. They will be sharing us all the inputs that they worked in their for water projects. So please, I would like to give the floor to Lourdes. Hello, Lourdes, we can see you now.
Thank you, Marisol.
You can share the presentation.
We are going to share my screen. Good morning to everyone. My name is Lourdes Garcia. I'm full professor of the Energy Department of the Higher Technical School of Engineering of the University of Seville. First of all, I want to thank the organization committee for inviting me. My presentation briefly describes key exploitable results of the University of Seville developed in close cooperation with other institutions, namely University of La Laguna's External Cooperation, Plataforma Solar de Almería CIMA, Canary Islands Institute of Technology, and University of Évora. This presentation will be available from the project website, so I included the report of all publications delivered so far for further information. The know-how developed within the frame of this project is available for public and private companies and institutions through the transnational service SIU, This slide depicts the map of water plants. Specifically in the Atlantic area, you can see quite different water plants to treat seawater, brackish water, industrial, river, and wastewater. Although the know-how of University of Seville is focused on seawater desalination, we address the problem of energy efficiency in water plants with a methodology that can be applied to all kinds of water plants with the aid of other project partners. First result relies on the joint expertise of the Canary Island Institute of Technology and University of Seville concerning advanced configuration of seawater reverse osmosis desalination plants. In conventional energy-powered plants, the target is just minimizing energy consumption and nominal working conditions. Additionally, in renewable energy-powered plants, we studied dedicated designs to minimize energy consumption and pilot operation while maintaining product quality and maximizing operating hours. Some results have been published. Second key result corresponds to design recommendations of desalination plants coupled to conventional technologies of concentrated solar power plants. We have been working with Plataforma Solar de Almería CIEMAT and the University of La Laguna. All of us, and also University of Évora, are working in integrating desalination in next generation of CSP plants, specifically plants based on either conventional gas turbines, supercritical CO2 cycles, and supercritical water cycles. Next result focused on small capacity solar desalination. University of Seville is developing a novel technology shown in this figure. Electricity required to drive a reverse osmosis desalination plant is provided by a microgas turbine placed at the focal point of a parabolic dish solar collector. You can see main components of the microgas turbine: compressor, turbine, recuperator, and instead of a combustion chamber, you can see a solar reservoir. You can install also the combustion chamber. One prototype of this solar microgas turbine was installed at the test facility of an Italian research center. Additionally, the waste heat of the power cycle is exploited by a zero liquid discharge process. Biofuels or fossil fuels can power the system at night. Preliminary results will be available from the project website. Finally, in close cooperation with the University of La Laguna, we are developing another novel concept of solar desalination for off-grid system. In this case, solar photovoltaic energy is combined to tidal range power production to significantly expand the operating hours of the water plant. The most interesting application would be seawater desalination and wastewater plants. Conceptual diagrams show the integration of the basin and the dam in which hydraulic turbines are placed. On the left, the hybrid power plant drives the reverse osmosis plant in a seawater desalination application. We developed dedicated software for preliminary design. We have 3 related publications so far. Needed inputs are solar and tidal range resource of the plant location. You can see the case of Cardiff concerning public data on tidal resources. As future works, other renewables energy should be studied. We found a comparative assessment by means of the capacity factor of the power plant corresponding to solar and wind energies. So offshore wind system seems to be the most suitable selection for hybrid tidal plants. This will be our following target out of the scope of this project. This slide shows an example of results that can be analyzed through the developed software. You can see the consumption profile on a conventional water plant when it's powered by a discontinuous power generator. You can see the water plant shutting down whenever there is not enough power available. Also, the figure represents the profile of the water production. The operation of the solar field, of the tidal range plant, and also the sum of them. We marked in red the power production about the power consumption of the water plant. Besides, marked in blue, you can see periods of time with an insufficient power output to operate the water plant. We studied with those figures results for a single turbine of 20 megawatts with corresponding 15 megawatts of power consumption. First, the case of 50 megawatts of solar PV field, and second, 30. The second figure with 30. Design target will be first, optimization of the consumption curve due to the use of advanced water plant based on gradual capacity designs, which are our first key exploitable result. Second, optimization of the production curve. We are studying 3 options which are described in the following slides. We can optimize the tidal range power production by means of adopting double basin tidal plants. Turbines works between basin 1 and 2 instead of between the basin and the sea. A second option corresponds to integrate the energy storage in the hybrid plant by means of water pumping from the sea to the upper basin. You can see the concept in those figures. Finally, given that many regions in Atlantic area exhibit limited tidal range resources, we are studying the concept of combined pumping and power production in order to integrate large capacity energy storage and also manageable power production. And that's all. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Lourdes. So we can move on to the next presentation. Please go ahead, Reza.
Thank you very much, Marisol. My name is Reza Ahmadian. I am a professor of water and environmental engineering at Cardiff University, and I will be presenting on improving efficiency of wastewater treatment work with my colleague Manu Lam, who has done the most of the work here. So I'm trying to take some credit for what he's done. So all of us know that we use water in coastal area in particular for many purposes. But at the same time, we discharge so much contaminants into our water courses as well. And one of these contaminants is bacterial contaminants. And bacterial contaminants can affect human health when we are using water for drinking or recreational purposes, or at the same time socioeconomic activities in the region. So for example, it can affect agriculture. That's why when we are looking at different regulatory frameworks, we see that there are many directives in, for example, different countries, particularly EU, that like EU Revised Basin Water Directive and EU Shellfish Water Directive, exist to protect these water courses from different contaminants. In an ideal world, we want to remove all bacteria before we discharge any wastewater. But at the same time, we need to know that bacteria entering water is not only from a wastewater treatment work, it can be from diffuse sources, which can be bigger problem, like, for example, discharges from agricultural lands. And at the same time, treating wastewater use significant amount of energy. So that's not very easy to do, and it's not very efficient for us to remove all bacteria. So we generally remove bacteria to meet these regulatory frameworks. And when we are doing this, we need to consider, that climate change is also happening, so it will affect our energy consumption at the same time. Sometimes we over-treat bacteria or over-treat our wastewater because we are not sure what's happening in the environment. And in this project, we try to make sure that we understand what is happening. So what is the source apportionment at the main sources, or how different sources affect our key receptors? There are two main ways to do this. One is what we call bacterial tracer studies. So we take bacteria which do not exist in normal environment, and we enter these at different sources, and we measure them at the key receptors. But this is very time-consuming and very expensive to do. The other approach is numerical modeling. Numerical modeling are fast, fairly cheap comparing to field studies, but at the same time, you need data to validate these numerical models. So what we did in this project, we took a case study which is located in Swansea Bay. It is in South Wales, Southwest England, Southwest United Kingdom. And we took this case study and tried to enhance our model and make sure that our model include all the physical activities. We choose this site because there are different sources of bacteria, including wastewater treatment works, rivers, and streams discharging to this area. And at the same time, large amount of data was collected in a previous project, which was called Smart Coast, through our colleagues in Aberystwyth University. So we used this site, and the estuary is very well mixed. So it has the second highest tidal range as a part of Bristol Channel Severn estuary. So it's very well mixed. You generally use a two-dimensional model for a case like this. And we set up our Telemac two-dimensional model, which is very widely used model, and we started predicting model. But we got very bad results. The red line here were the results that we initially got. And we were trying to predict these circles here. So our results were very far off. And then we looked at the processes, and we found out, actually, we need a three-dimensional model. But three-dimensional model doesn't work just because it's three-dimensional. One key element here was buoyancy and effect of salinity, because fresh water was coming from the rivers, and it was lighter. So it was floating on top of actually saline water, and that fresh water was carrying contaminants, and that fresh water was the key to our modeling. So when we started modeling 3D with impact of salinity and wind, then we started getting much closer results. These you see at the top, but they were not ideal yet. So we had seen before that you need to use different stage decay rates because bacteria dies at different rate. And then we started using our two-stage decay rate and got better result as a result of that. I have very little time, so I don't go into details of those, but if you're interested, come and talk to me later. I mentioned diffuse sources. There are many streams coming to the bay as well. And in numerical models, you have tides, for example, moving closer to the sea or closer to the land. But in numerical model, you generally take either the points which are very far from the sea or in deep area to represent the streams. And we started doing that. The very first one is when we got the points close to the land to represent the streams, and the right one, there are the ones that we got the deep points to present the streams. None of these were presenting the physics properly. So what we did, we started to track the waterfront and then added points, added discharges to where actually water meet the streams. And we got the middle results, which were much closer to reality. Now I pass to Arthur to talk about our real-time modeling, which was based on AI.
Okay. So early warning systems are important since it will issue warnings about future poor water quality. There are several examples in Cardiff Bay, in EU Streaming Project, and also in Hong Kong. They have the warning system that you can check in your iPhone that how poor or good the future water quality is. And this system can allow wastewater treatment operation to meet the water quality standard with the minimal possible energy, because you know what is the future expected water quality. Also, it can warn the public of poor water quality in the future so they don't go to the beach. However, this real-time warning system is, they need a very quick prediction methods. And those are hydrodynamic model, which is very good at understanding, they may not be that quick to produce real-time predictions. So we have to rely on usually AI or the data-driven kind of a model. So one integral part of this AI model is you know what is the key explanatory variable to put into your model before you really train that AI model. And usually this is done, at least in the water quality community, a linear regression kind of model. So here I propose a gamma GAANN model, which we can do fully nonlinear identification of variable and water quality prediction. So here is the steps. First, you measure the data, and second, you put the data into a gamma GA test, which I will explain, and the third one will be the ANN model, which is quite common, and then we pass the information to stakeholders, such as wastewater management and the beach management authorities. Here is the gamma test. This is a kind of a mathematical method that you put the input data and you put into this method, and it gives an estimate about what is the noise for an arbitrary continuous nonlinear model. Interesting enough, this gamma test does not give you what is the model, but it can estimate the noise. And let's say we have a lot of variables, and then we arbitrarily pick a set, we plug it inside this model, and then we play around with this. The one that gives you the smallest noise is the variable that you should choose. To minimize the computational effort, we use genetic algorithm for picking and testing. So this is our site, which is the same as the hydrodynamical model, Swansea Bay, and we have taken meteorological and bacteria data with 15 to 30 minutes of resolution in the bathing season of 2011. And we have to remove the redundant variable, which is quite collinear. So I remove all this, and we remain 23 variables for the gamma GAANN test. So here I compare the gamma GA identified variable, which is on your left, and the linear identified variable, which is on your right, the predictive capacity of those things and the sensitivity. You can see that the nonlinear models better captures high pollutant events, which is higher sensitivity at the right-hand side compared to the left. Sorry, at the left-hand side, higher sensitivity compared to the right-hand side. So this new model is better in warning system because it gives you a more sensitivity to risky or poor water quality events. So here comes the conclusion. We have introduced the AI and hydroenvironmental models that is important for strategic wastewater treatment and also warning the swimmers. And we have developed 2 types of models, which they give more information about how to optimize the wastewater treatment, but such a potential have to be further looked into. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Reza, Man, and also Lourdes for this interesting panel. So we are going to move on to the next presentation that is from Santiago Diaz. This is an invited project that is a CLIEMAT. It's a cooperation project funded by Interreg, in which Instituto Tecnológico de Canarias also participate. So please, Santiago.
Okay. So first of all, thank you very much for the kind invitation to participate in this Congress, in the final Congress of Risk for Water. My name is Santiago. I work in the Canary Island Institute of Technology in the Department of Renewable Energies. And in this case, we are going to present a project that could be like a brother, it's for an Interreg MAC program. You are working for the Interreg Atlantic, It's something similar, but in this case, the region is for the Macaronesia and also West Africa, And in this case, the project is related to the climate change, And the consequences of the climate change in the energy sector is the main role, As you know, the energy sector is a key element in the economy. For example, nowadays we can see the consequences when you have an increase in the price of the energy. You have consequences also in the rest of the products, increase the prices in all, So we need to find solutions as a way to detect what are going to happen in the future and how we can act before to have these problems, So first of all, in this project, we execute a series of models as a way to know what happened or what are going to happen in 2040, 2050, also for 2100, And after that, try to define some mitigation plans for all the regions in which we are working, So all these plans have been defined in 3 main objectives. The first one is more related to the infrastructures. Imagine, for example, if the temperature increase in some places, and you need to go, or the population should go near the coast because the temperature is low. That have consequences in the electrical grid, But in other regions could be something different, Imagine the sea levels increase, so the population should move to other locations where they don't have this kind of problems. And here in this project, we have like different cases, and you will understand with the presentation more or less the idea, That is the first objective. The second objective is more related to the new economies. We speak about new economies, for example, the blue economy. Most of these Macaronesia areas are islands, So at the end, you have land restrictions that you should take into account. So, for example, the offshore wind power, the floating PV could be alternative, That we need to analyze, The circular economy is also important. We are promoting inside one of the lines of the department the use of biogas and also the biodiesel, And in this project, we are implementing solutions, for example, in Senegal and a laboratory in Cape Verde. And the low carbon economy is more general. It's more related to the, for example, the mobility. No? So this is like the second objective. And the third objective is for the energy efficiencies, something really important, as you know. We have defined like 3 main blocks. The first one is for the buildings. The second one is more for big consumers. Here, our big industry is the tourism, so we need to analyze the consequences there. And also the municipality. No? For example, we have some colleagues that are working in the Covenant of Mayors and how we can act for the climate change according with the energy planning of these locations. No? So, well, in the project participates 13 partners. IDC is coordinating the project, but we have, as you could see, all the regions in which we could participate in this call. Azores, also Madeira, Canary Island, Cape Verde, and also Senegal and Mauritania, like West Africa regions in which, well, at the end, we are implementing solutions. Also, we do some paperwork regarding the planning. And we started in 2020, and we finished this project the next year in 2023. So we are in the last section of the work, no? So as an example of the result that we have obtained, we are going to present the ones that we have for the Canary Islands. Anyway, we have the result also for Madeira and Azores and Cape Verde until now. So if you have any interest, we can speak about that. For the Canary Islands, first of all, the analysis of the current situation, we should say that we have a strong dependency on the use of fuels. No? We require around 7 million of ton oil equivalents per year to keep our energy system. And that means that around 1.7 is required for the electrical system and around 2.7 for the mobility. So we need to decarbonize, and that is something that all the governments know. And the objective here for the Canary Islands is reach to the total decarbonization before the 2040. Okay, we are nowadays around the 17%. The objective is for 2030 reach until the 65% of load demand coverage with renewable energies. So we need to improve on that. It's something really, really important. And I think that the situation in all the islands is more or less the same. It's a little bit more difficult to decarbonize electrical energy system in islands than in the mainland, because the grid is a little bit more problematic, okay? And that is the reason why, for example, in Spain, we have a different level of decarbonization than in the Canary Islands, no? So in this project, the first step is the execution of climate models, no? We have used as a reference the IPCC. They define like the main conditions that we have to use for this kind of modelization. As a input data, we are using the community health system model that is like a compendium of the results of different centers around the world regarding the climate change. No? They estimate the consequences of estimate the meteorological evolution of the different parameters from 2020 to 2100, okay? For the 4 scenarios that you possibly know. 1 second, okay? Here you have the 4 scenarios that we could have, no? Well, the problem of this model is the resolution. The resolution is bad at the beginning because they have to execute the model for all the world. And that means that the original resolution is around 1 degree. 1 degree is, as you could see, in some islands, we don't have any kind of signal of the value that we could have in the future. So we need to improve that, and for that we have used the weather research forecast model, that is a numerical weather prediction model with 3 domains, and we have obtained a model with a resolution of around 1.2, okay? That we have validated also with our facilities. For example, we have here a weather station you could see in the visit after that, no? validating, for example, the data of the wind speed, the precipitation, the solar radiation, etc. No? We have produced these maps, also time series, for the variables that we consider important for the energy sector. Here you have examples, no? For the 2020, because it's like the reference, but also for 2030, 2040, 2050, and 2100, for the regions in which we are working nowadays, no? And with the three main scenarios, the RCP that you could see here, because it's like the possible situation that you could have, of course, when you analyze the consequences in the future of the range of problems could be is less accurate, no? As you could see. When you are near the point in which you are analyzing, well, the result is better. No? For this reason, we execute the model for the three scenarios. So the next step is, okay, I know what are going to happen in the future. Now the thing that we have to do is detect or recognize the risk that you will have in the future. No? That is a methodology that we have used also for another project called Circle Impact that was related to climate change. And well, as you could see, we detected the hazards. So you define the risk and the impact that you will have. So for example, if the temperature increases, as I mentioned before, you need to know that, for example, you need more water. You need to desalinate more water or even use more the air conditioning. No? So you need to increase the power in the electrical system. We have other things like, for example, the frequency of the extreme events. We could see that in the last days, no, with the rain. No? So we have to define how we can act for these problems. No? That is like an analysis more general. Maybe the most interesting or the most important is the next one. No? We have different models. We use as a reference, for example, for the low demand model, we use a machine learning technique that is random forest. Also, we have another alternative that is super vector regression. We have also analyzed the NNA that you mentioned before, the different methodologies. To tell the truth, that is something that we usually execute with different alternatives, and we select the one that have less error. No? So in this case, we introduce, for example, signals like the humidity, the temperature, the precipitation as a way to detect patterns with the historical low demand. So you correlate that information with the variable that you want to predict, for example, the low demand or the fuel consumption. No? According with that, you estimate the same values for the future, no? For all the years that I mentioned before. So we have executed these models, we have obtained the results, and after that, we have another set of models that try to simulate the energy systems in all the regions. For example, in the case of Canary Island, we have used a model. This model has been used too for the energy planning of the Canary Islands. So the government of Canary Island is a partner in this project. So they have used that information too as a way to improve the energy planning. So it's something important that should be mentioned. We execute this model. Of course, you will have information of the power that you need to install per technologies, no? And after that, you have to analyze if you have some land restrictions, because it's important in this case. When you are speaking about islands, as I mentioned before, you have restrictions that you should take into account. For example, the air safety areas. if you want to install wind power here in Canary Islands, of course, you cannot install near the airport, or at least you have to take into account the restrictions that they give us, no? So when you analyze that, you introduce, for example, the natural protected areas, and you could see that the area that you have available for this kind of facilities is a little bit low in comparison with the one that you need. So in some moments, it's possible that you need to change a little bit and not use, for example, wind power and use photovoltaic power, or even the blue economy, as I mentioned before, the offshore wind power and things like that. No? At the end, that is like the procedure that we have implemented. As I mentioned, we use official data, we execute the weather research forecast, estimate the impact change, and after that we define the demand for the different sectors before to implement the mitigation plans, okay? These mitigation plans have been developed using this scheme, okay? Trying to focus on the things that maybe is better for these regions. And of course, when we speak about the energy system, we need to take into account the integration. For example, the grid stability analysis is something that should be done to check that everything is okay. So for example, we are executing a team specialized on that in our department for the definition of the conditions mainly in 3 islands, Gran Canaria, Tenerife, and in La Palma, okay? So that is one of the solutions, but also we have others that are important, like for example, the demand side management and the energy storage, of course, no? So at the end, as I said before, we have some products that could be paperworks, like for example, the mitigation plans, but also we have other lines in this project that is the implementation in real life. No? So for example, here in our facilities have been installed a solar thermal system for the industries, okay, with part of the financing due to a CLIMAC project. Also, the biogas plant that is being implemented in Senegal, the idea is to commissioning at the beginning of the next year. Also, a laboratory in Cape Verde for the biogas too. A battery system have been increased the microgrid of ITC as a way to test new energy management solutions according with the climate change. We need to test, and for that, these facilities are really important. So at the end, you have some products that are for the analysis of how we can act in the future, and others that are more related to these kind of studies. And of course, the dissemination is quite important too. That is the reason why we also have executed, and we will execute too, some training seminars, not only in all these regions in the Macaronesia, but also in Senegal and Mauritania. Well, that is more or less the general line in which we are working. Thank you very much for listening.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing with us these outcomes from a CLIMAC project and for being here with us. And now we are going to move on with the agenda, and we are going to have the expert panel discussion. So please, I would like to call all the experts that are going to participate in this panel. Antonio Espirito from Enarea would be the moderator of the session. Also, Salvador Suárez, head of the Department of Renewable Energy of Instituto Tecnológico de Canarias.
Hello.
Diego Alarcón from CMAT, that is also Partner Affairs for Water Project. And finally, Rafael Herrera, Director of Sustainable Development of Canaragua Concesiones. This is our expert panel discussion. They are going to talk several proposals regarding the water cycle. And at the end, we will have some minutes to ask them questions. So for all the on-site attendees, you can raise your hand. And for the online attendees, you can write on the chat on YouTube. So please go ahead, Antonio, with the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are about to start our roundtable that will discuss the use of renewable energies in the water cycle. Basically, we are interested to discuss the water energy nexus here. So today we have three experts with us. Thank you for joining us here today. And we have Salvador from he's the head of the department of ETC, related with renewable energies. We have Diego Alarcón from the CIEMAT research platform Solar Almeria, and Rafael Herrera, that is the director of sustainable development of Canaragua Concesiones. Thank you for joining us today. I will ask each one of you to start, introduce yourself, and let us know your connection with this hot topic that is energy and water. I start with Rafael, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning. I'm Rafael Herrera. I'm the director of sustainability of Canaragua. Canaragua is a company. We manage water facilities in the whole Canary Islands. A lot of desalination plants, also wastewater treatment plants, networks, water supply networks, and also sewage water. And of course, we are doing some things of the topics that we have today, the nexus between energy and water. But I have to say that till today, timidly. No? Of course, we have some photovoltaic plants in the self-consumption mode, and we are looking for PPA to purchase more renewable energy, and we work also in efficiency, not only energy efficiency, but also water networks efficiency. You know? There we have a lot of work done. I can explain later. But for us, this is a very important issue, yes. We are now working on a decarbonization plan for our company, and we are realizing that this is a very big deal. No? We have not only to think about supplying us with renewable energy, but also we have a big carbon footprint that comes from the biological process in our waste treatment plants. And this is very difficult to deal with. I am speaking about methane and also nitrates, oxides that are emitted in every wastewater plant. So, and this could be half of the carbon footprint of a company like us, like Canaragua. And it's as I said, it's a very big problem. We are looking for a way to reduce this carbon footprints and also to improve the nexus between energy and water.
Thank you. Salvador, please introduce yourself and highlight your connection with the nexus water energy.
Right. Well, the department, the renewable energy department, we are about 36 people now, engineers, different electrical, mechanical engineers. We have some physicists. And basically, I mean, our expertise for the past 25 years, what we have been focusing on has been on ways of maximizing integration of variable, intermittent, renewable energies in a small and weak electrical island grids, basically. No? So we have been collaborating with all European island regions. And also, we are supporting not only the regional government of the Canary Islands, but also the central government, the Spanish government, and why not the European Commission through different projects that they are financing. We're also supporting transferring of clean energy technologies to less developed countries, especially of the Western African coast. We are very active currently in Cape Verde, Mauritania, Senegal, Morocco. But not only, we are also doing things like we have a project now supporting also master's programs in Vietnam, Indonesia, and Thailand. And we recently also did the energy savings and efficiency plans of Galapagos Islands. Recently, just this week, we have been confirmed that the French cooperation will finance also work on Cozumel and Holbox, 2 islands in Yucatan in Mexico. So, I mean, we're trying to do work on islands, also not just the neighboring African countries, but also in Latin America and Southeast Asia. And then the third part of our activities basically centered on being the support institution to the regional island government for the definition of energy policies, especially in relation to promotion of renewable energies, energy efficiency in the Canary Islands. So as Santiago was explaining, we have been elaborating the energy plan that's going to be substituting the old one that we also elaborated, the PECAN. And we have also elaborated 8 different strategies supporting all this planning, as was mentioned. I mean, from self-consumption PV, how to advance in energy storage, electromobility, hydrogen, geothermal. So we have like 8 very comprehensive strategies that has been elaborated, addressing different sectors, trying to support this energy planning. And then, well, we are very active in European R&D programs. For 20 years, we have been working on the framework programs and currently trying to do more. Looking forward to Horizon. And, well, the relation with water, in the case of the Canary Islands, especially the easternmost islands of Lanzarote, well, Lanzarote is almost 100% dependent on reverse osmosis to cover the water needs, and these processes are intensive in energy consumption. So we are collaborating with our colleagues from the water department to try to look for solutions to try to maximize renewable energy use in this associated integration with these water technologies. And currently representing about 13%, correct me, Baltasar, if I'm not right, but about 13% of the 9,000 gigawatt hour of electricity we generate in the islands are going to the water cycle. So we're talking about maybe 1,200 gigawatt hour of electricity being used. And well, currently we have a 20% penetration of renewable energies in the electric energy mix. And hopefully we'll be advancing towards more ambitious goals and also trying to associate self-consumption of wind and solar to water desalination plants.
Okay, Diego, please.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. My name is Diego Alarcons. Since 1994, I'm working at the Plataforma Solar de Almería, a research center that belongs to CIEMAT. That is the largest worldwide research center in the field of solar thermal concentrating technologies. I am senior scientist that develops its activity within the so-called today solar thermal R&D applications unit. That is a unit that one of the main topics that we have for research is solar desalination and other water separation processes based on the use of solar thermal energy. So as you can imagine by the name, well, our idea is to investigate, to make research in developing new technologies to achieve the full decarbonization of the desalination sector.
Okay, thank you. Salvador, can you elaborate a little bit more about the integration of renewable energy?
Rafael,
sorry.
Okay.
About the integration of renewable energies in the water cycle, and what challenge are you currently facing now, and predict some of others that can arise in the future?
First of all, I have to say that I'm not an expert in this issue. No? You are, of course, experts, and it's For me, it's very interesting to be here and hearing what are you researching. I can speak from the position, from the point of view of someone that manage the facilities. No? As I said, we manage a lot of desalination plants, also wastewater treatment plants, pumping station, and for example, I want to say that sometimes the penetration of renewable energy makes us frightening, yes, because all these facilities depends on instrumentation and depends on a very delicate systems that don't like when the energy supply has not a very high quality. No? And of course, we as managers of this kind of facility, we have to guarantee the supply of water in any kind of conditions. No? So I think, for example, that looking forward and in the way of what we have heard here today, and we all know that in the future we will have more extreme climate events, like, for example, high temperatures. And I think that it's important, and also to improve the nexus between energy and water system, that the water facilities were, I don't know if the correct word, but oversized. Yes, oversized, so that we can, for example, if we have a capacity, storage capacity, so that we can stop the pumping station, stop the desalination plants, if the grid situation, the energy grid situation is not the optimum. Today, we give we call it interruptibility service to Red Eléctrica Española, the company who manages the grid, and that means that in this kind of plants where we have a lot of consumption, a lot of energy consumption, the Red Eléctrica can cut us the energy if they have some kind of problem. No? And I think it's a good way to manage the demand of energy and to balance the demand and the production of renewable energy. And I think that in the future, this will be an important thing, but always if we have some kind of oversized facilities, because otherwise it could be dramatic if we can't guarantee the water supply.
Thank you. Right now, Salvador. Can you tell us more, let us know more about the concentrated solar thermal and the relation with the energy cycle, the water cycle?
Yeah, concentration solar thermal. Maybe it's our real expert is Diego on concentration solar thermal. Well, what the trends on this field, and correct me, Diego, are that, concentration, it's been seen as a cogeneration issue. You want to maximize the use of available solar power. First, integrating the solar with a micro gas turbine that can produce electricity, and then the waste heat of that micro turbine, use it in this destination membrane systems to obtain also water, higher quality water, that maybe this reverse osmosis can benefit from mixing without a second pass in reverse osmosis. You can have quality water. But Diego, I don't want to go really into this field because you're the, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about this concentration.
Yeah, well, you have mentioned it is one possibility. But what I want you what I want to vindicate today, because it's my role as member of the Plataforma Solar de Almería, is that obviously to get the new sources of water, it's clear that desalination, water reuse for water treatment plants, water from desalination, what we call today non-conventional water resources are going to be very important due to clearly climate change, the increase of population, etc., etc. And if we want to be in agreement with the COP21 regarding the maximum temperature that we want to increase for our planet, clearly we need that all the existing desalination capacity, all the future desalination capacity must be full decarbonized. We should achieve full decarbonization of the processes. And that only can happen with the right share of what we call non-dispatchable and dispatchable renewable technologies. And what we understand, because I don't know if all the people who is attending, we define dispatchability when you have the capacity to follow the demand. So for example, today, a larger scale, photovoltaic energy and wind energy, for example, are non-dispatchable technologies for power production because they don't have, let's say, an affordable energy storage system. Okay? This is not the case, for example, for solar thermal concentrating technologies. Solar thermal concentrating technologies, it is true that the cost of production of the electricity is a little bit higher than in the case of wind energy or photovoltaics, but we have an affordable thermal storage system that allows us to store the energy as we collect it, as a different, for example, wind energy and photovoltaics, at large scale, I repeat, that you have to supply all the energy to the grid and instantly. In the case of, we can store the energy and deliver it during the night. So, for that reason, I think that the combination of PV, for example, solar photovoltaics, combined with concentrated solar power to produce electricity can help, for example, to achieve high rates of solar fraction for example, reverse osmosis plants. Okay, so it's not, obviously CSP also, we can have a cogeneration system, as you explained, with thermal desalination technology, but even for processes, desalination processes like reverse osmosis that are entirely powered by electricity, CSP system, concentrated solar power, can play a relevant role to achieve that values. Indeed, in the project Areas for Water, we have made some studies, some case studies, that have demonstrated that for lower latitudes, the Canary Island, I know that, for example, for the case of Ireland, or we concentrated solar power due to the requirements of land availability and direct solar irradiance levels, it's a little bit difficult, but for the case of lower latitude, for example, at continental, we have observed that we can obtain rates of solar fraction nearly 90% that are really, really nice.
And about the integration of different renewable energy sources, it's hard to manage because we can easily have 2 or 3 or even more energy sources providing energy to the same grid. So efficiency here is a issue that must be addressed properly. So my question is, in an environment like an Iceland, you have different energy sources, solar, wind, geothermal, sea, tidal. You think you can extrapolate the results that we are achieving here, for instance, in Canary Island, and take it for Madeira, Azores? It's easy to replicate these results?
Yeah. Well, yeah. From our experience, I mean, collaborating with all island regions from the Baltics, Estonia, Samso, and Denmark, Gotland, and also Adriatic with all this Dalmatian coast in Croatia, Cyprus, Malta. We have a lot of references of of what the problems, the issues in different island regions, and not only because of latitudes, but also because of the some activity. I mean, some of them, most of them are very tourist dependent, but they don't have the seasonable changes in islands, in in the Mediterranean, and let's say about the Baltic. I mean, we in the Canary Islands don't have that issue of seasonal changes in demand. So every island is different. But I mean, you have to always to look at your sources, have well characterized the resource, and try to work with what Santiago was mentioning, very reliable weather forecasting system that allows you in your island system to give priority always to renewables. When you want to do the planning, you need commitments and doing the dispatching of the generation, try to have this reliable weather forecasting. Also, we here in the Canary Islands are doing work on grid modeling with the standard, those electrical engineers, PSSE from Siemens, trying to determine maximum levels, admissible levels of penetration of renewables and how to reinforce the grids in order to allow for higher penetration of renewables. In the islands, I mean, not interconnected islands, the issue really is of balancing the grid, okay? So you have, from one side, the supply of different renewables, all variable, with exceptions like biomass or your thermal. But I mean, wind, solar, with the variability in the intermittence. And on the side of the demand, you have a demand which varies a lot. In the case of islands, because there's no industry at nights, you don't have a load that can, I mean, in the case of Gran Canaria, we have a valley at 300 megawatt and a peak close to the 600 megawatt. So, I mean, we almost have double so, I mean, we don't have seasonal changes, but the intraday for us is a problem, okay? A problem, and we're looking to the trends. The trends basically determined by three facts: electrification, loads, electrical loads are mobility, heat, water. Everything's been electrified, which is good for us, as long as these loads are manageable. What Diego mentioned, that they are manageable, non-critical, deferrable loads, okay? So we're looking especially at electric vehicles, reverse osmosis. As Rafael was mentioned, you have a potential manageable load in reverse osmosis plant. As a matter of fact, our TSO, Red Eléctrica, our transmission system operator, Red Eléctrica España, is currently having the capacity to do demand-side management on big loads like water and Spain, okay? The interrumpibility that Rafael is mentioning. But they hardly do it, okay? So it's a theoretical manageable load, but not yet. And then we have our colleagues and the water department, also in Almeria, that they have been working on possibilities of working at partial loads down to 60% of nominal power of the reverse osmosis plant, maintaining quality parameters of that water, okay? So the possibility of doing working with these loads at partial loads, as long as you also complement with high energy storage, and you also over-dimension the reverse osmosis, might convert the reverse osmosis on this dispatchable, non-critical, deferrable load that we need to collaborate in the grid balancing, okay? Because we have variability in the generation, and we need to have a manageable load that compensates the non-manageable nature of renewables, okay? To keep certain parameters of the grids, like frequency, controlled, okay? Otherwise, I mean, if you have too much renewable energy generation and little demand, you have to curtail generation, okay? You have to bring down to keep the frequency low, okay? On the other side, if you have too much demand and low generation, you have to do load sharing, okay? You have to disconnect loads. So what's worst? Curtailing wind farms, that's a capital invested, a fixed cost, and you're reducing the hours, or doing load sharing to also a capital investment that you have it there expecting to work 24/7 with high capacity factors because of economic restriction. So I mean, both decisions will affect the economies of the water desalination or the wind farms that have also high capex, okay?
We have also another solution that instead of shift the production of desalination in the time, basically what you are saying, we can use the water system to store this energy. So in that situation, you don't really need to disconnect the renewable energy sources, neither shift the production. You think it's possible this level of integration and use the water system as a reservoir of water? We know that currently people are using batteries, but this is my particular opinion. I'm not here to give you opinion, but I give it. In my opinion, batteries are not the solution because they are expensive, not, very complicated from the technological point of view, other issues. So you think it's possible to use, for instance, the process of desalination to store the extra energy that we are harvesting from wind, for instance? I don't know who wants to answer.
Yes, I think it's so, as Salvador has said, but it's also a question of investment and a question of economy. No? Yes, this is the main problem. But I want to say that it's not only the chance to, for example, to stop or to produce water in desalination plants. Also, we can do something with the pumping station. No? We can, perhaps, I hope that in the future, some pumping system could have enough storage capacity to work not only in one way, pumping and consuming energy, but also if it's needed, turbining, as one colleague have said before. Huh?
Yeah.
So, sorry.
No, it was only just to insist on what Rafael is saying. I mean, you can do it. You can have a reverse osmosis facility contributing, supporting operation of an island electrical grid, the grid balancing that the Red Eléctrica of España, our TSO, is responsible for. But there are the economics, okay? Because, I mean, you have a desalination working 24/7, 8,760, well, maintenance work, maybe at 90% capacity factor, 95, okay, stopping for maintenance, okay? That's the case in the one we have just behind. You go as a Sunday at 3 in the morning and they're producing water, okay? But then you have renewables, wind. Even at sites like the one we have here, excellent sites, 4,000 hours. If you make Rafael work, integrate solely responding to the wind, his capacity factor will come from 95 to less than 50%. So the problem is who pays the party? I mean, how are you going to finance? Because Rafael says, well, yeah, I will lower my first, if he has to supply 200,000 people, he will have to increase the capacity of water and also the reservoir. But again, it's an economic issue. Who pays?
Who pays?
The capex that Rafael and all the depreciation that Rafael has to withstand with a capacity factor of 50%. Okay, so I mean the retribution framework, he's getting some money from Red Eléctrica because he's for the interruptibility, we call it. Okay, but he needs more incentive to play the game. I mean, if we want to count with Rafael, you have to compensate economically, you have to create the retribution framework for him to put his desalination into the hands of Red Eléctrica de España totally. That Red Eléctrica can bring the 60% continuous, how do you say, working at partializing load from the nominal to 60%, or totally stopping the reverse osmosis process if you need to balance, because at that moment you don't have wind, he has to do load sharing. He has to stop the...
So we can conclude that the water energy nexus has a third vector that is economic vector. So this triangle must be evaluated as a one. So I think we have a few minutes for a few questions. Can you, I don't know if anyone has a question in the audience.
Yes, thank you so much for all your inputs and feedback. Yes, we have a few minutes back. So if any of you want to ask something to one of the speakers here, you can raise your hand. We have a microphone, or any of the speakers as well. You are invited to participate. I'm also checking the event, but we don't have a question right now? On the chat? Okay, Reza. Great.
Thank you very much. Rafael, a question for you based on my expertise. So you mentioned that decarbonization is a challenge for you. And I was wondering, what are the biggest energy consumers in your system? So is that pumping, desalination, or wastewater treatment? Which is the biggest one, and which is the biggest challenge for you as well?
Yes, I think our desalination plants are the installation that consume most of our. We Canaragua, we consume every year, I think 115 gigawatts hour per year, yes, and mostly are in desalination plants. But it's a challenge to use energy without carbon footprints for these installations. But what I said is that we have an additional challenge. No? If we can do this, for example, I know it's not the better solution, but now we are buying, as I said, we are buying energy, green energy with a guarantee of origin. No? So if you calculate your carbon footprints in these conditions, the greenhouses gases of the consumption of energy goes to zero. And in this situation, what we see is that almost the 50% of our carbon footprints comes from our wastewater treatment plants. Not because of the consumption of energy, but just because of the biological treatment, and because we have the emission of CO2, yes, methane, and also Natural oxides, yes. And for us, this is a real challenge because all is a problem, and we all are concerned about the climate change and about the measure that we have to implement and how can we do it, and it's obviously a big problem. But when we think that if tomorrow we will have all the energy that supply the water cycle with renewable energy, we still have a lot of greenhouses gases emitting to the air because of the waste. And here, I think it's very important that the companies, like my company, work together with researchers and with institutions like the ITC, because we need to research to look what can we do with this, how can I say, this remaining greenhouses gases. I'm not sure if I answered the question. Okay, thanks. Okay.
Thank you so much. So we have another question from Baltasar.
Hello. Just a short question for Rafael and Salvador. Yes, only to emphasize the question of Risa. Which could be the future of the binomium energy water into wastewater treatment plants? We have water in installation. It's possibility to obtain gas, biogas, sludge. So do you have any opinion about the future into a wastewater treatment plant related to energy generation?
Okay. Yeah, well, in our case, what we're looking with interest is to this sludge because we don't have a possibility to develop efficient energy crops in our islands. We don't have water, we don't have lands, complex orography, terrain, so we need waste. One of our waste is, in the case of Gran Canaria, 70,000 tons of sludge generated from the water treatment plants. But the problem with this sludge is the relation carbon-nitrogen, has too much nitrogen. So it's in the range of 7, what I've seen, the analysis I have seen, and we need to bring it up. Not too up, I mean, not more than 32, but 7 is too low. So the way is to put things that have a lot of carbon in it, okay? So what we are looking is the possibility of doing co-digestion of those sludge, water sludge from the waste treatment plants together with manure from cattle and agricultural waste, things that have carbon and can balance better the nitrogen. But I mean, the quality, from what I've seen, okay, from Fero's water treatment plant and also Cabo Verde there in Moya. I mean, the analytically of this, it's because of the activity that we develop in islands. We don't have industry. So, I mean, you don't see weird things. You don't see heavy metals. You don't see too many, things. And I think we should in the future try to make use as maximum of converting the problem of managing waste into a business opportunity of producing biogas, fertilizers, and other, what Santiago mentioned, the circular economy. No?
Did you already think in use of microbial fuel cells to produce electricity directly?
Sorry?
Microbial fuel cells, did you already evaluate this possibility here? You don't know it.
Microbial
fuels.
Microbial cells.
Yeah.
Microbial cells.
No,
well, the experts on. I'm only looking from the energy, and what we're looking at is the path of biogas. Okay. We don't want to
produce electricity directly
because incineration is a complex issue here in the islands. So we are only looking at the ways of putting organic fraction of waste into biodigesters, and this sludge is an interesting...
yeah, but microbial fuel cells is a biodigester, is an anaerobic one.
Ah, okay, biodigesters. Yeah. Okay, sorry for my ignorance, but...
okay, you can let
sorry.
Sorry, despite what Salvador has said about the biogas, and I totally agree, I have more questions than answers for you, Baltasar. And yes, I think perhaps we can think about changing the way we operate treatment plants so that we can handle with all this nitrogen, and we have to work with the sludge, of course, to avoid the emission of methane, and perhaps we have to change the whole sewage and treatment system of our region and look for natural treatment systems. I don't know. I really don't know. We are not now working in these decarbonization plans, and there are a lot of questions for us, and it's difficult.
Okay, so do we have any last question? Because it's more than one, so I think we have arrived to the end of the event. I have checked online YouTube. We don't have any more comments. So if you want to share with us any final remarks, or we can just finish with the event.
Okay, thank you for joining us and give us this interesting discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So thank all for your participation, all the speakers, of course, the partners, the on-site attendees, and also the online people who joined the event. And now we are going to finish with the online streaming, and we will have some cocktail and networking for the people who stay here with us. For all of you who join online, we will send you the recording of the session. Also, all the information about the Race for Water project is available on the project website. And please feel free to go there and send your question, comments, and in case you want to collaborate more with us, we are, of course, available. So thank you so much. And I expect that this is not the end of the collaboration between the consortium that we have had here in Earth for Water project. So thank you so much. So I have sent you the satisfaction survey. It's there.